So welcome to this edition of ROV Meditation Practice Tips. And today, Stephen and I are going to talk about stopping the stress of going back to normal using EEG. So we've all been in a time this last year and a half with the pandemic of high anxiety and stress and tension. And Stephen and I have talked about the different phases we've gone through with this. And last year, it seemed like people were kind of willing to take a break and pause and maybe learn something new or go inside and develop a new relationship with inner being, with inner knowing. Whereas this year, it feels like people are really wanting to get back to normal. And there's a tension and a stress involved with that idea of getting back to normal that's just built into that whole idea. So today, we want to talk about how to really end that stress using an inner practice of awareness and using ways to measure that. So, Stephen, I know you have clients that have been coming to you and really talking about that getting back to normal or having a new normal. And so why don't you begin by sharing some of those experiences?
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you everybody for listening in on this. I think it's a really very exciting and insightful topic to look at what exactly normal is now, because we often perceive that normal is a particular state that we return to again and again, and we have a certain view of life that our normal, our state of normal, means that we get up and we go to work or we play with our kids and we go have parties on a Saturday night and we go out and visit people. And why can't we do all the same things that we used to do? And what I'm increasingly noticing is that the people that come to me, so many beautiful souls come to me throughout the week, and they're very wise souls. They recognize that there's some kind of shift in consciousness happening on the planet, and that perhaps what they thought was normal is no longer normal at all. And in fact, there is either a new state of normal, or in fact, there's a whole new way of being. And it often means that they're embracing their own originality, creativity, their own new ways of being in this world, so that the old normal has gone out completely. And this is often reflected by, they find things like changes in relationship, changes in job, changes in material circumstances, even changes in diet, changes in things that people are inspired to wear, or the type of friends that you have, or even the way that you've conducted yourself with friends and relationships, all shifts as you go through this change of consciousness. And so one thing they've increasingly noted as well is this power of EEG and the ability to use this as a way not to measure an end state, but to actually measure shifts. And I think this is an important difference. Quite often we acquire a headset, so you might have Muse or Flow Time or Focus Calm and Mendy. You might have any one of a number of these wonderful devices that show you different states. And we often perceive that there's a particular state we've got to get to, a little bit like, let's go back to normal. Okay, let's get this state. Let's get a gamma state or a theta state or an alpha state or whatever it happens to be. And forgetting that, in fact, a little bit like an orchestra, that all of us are playing with different instruments and we're also playing quite different melodies. And that perhaps what might be more important is looking at the shifts in our states as we go through these changes in our life. And I know different people over time. So I know Holly in our group had recorded a shift in state over the time that she did the Raising Our Vibration course of 10 weeks. And it showed quite markedly a change. And I think the change or the shift is just as important, in fact, more important than the outcome itself. So it wasn't about where she went from and to, but more about the actual shift itself. And so what I've been noticing in the clients, more and more people are starting to come to this awareness that they're recognizing that, if I think of clients 2 years ago when I was teaching people, it was more about, oh, okay, how do I get high gamma or high theta or high alpha or whatever. Now people are starting to recognize, oh, it's not just about getting a higher amplitude. It's about looking at, here I am in a state of stress. This is what my brainwaves show with EEG. Now under guidance, here I am in a much more open, allowing, easeful, surrendered state where there's no longer that grasping, no longer that aversion, no longer that identity, no longer that past or the future. And something happens in that state. And look, and people seem to be much more open, Kevin, to looking at, oh, wow, more with a sense of awe, like a child exploring a whole new laboratory, that, oh, look at that. So my brain does this on the right-hand side of the brain, or the left-hand side, or the front, or the rear, or whatever it happens to be. Oh, and when I do this, it does that. So people are starting to look at not so much comparing to another person saying, oh, well, he gets really high amplitude theta, I want to get that. Instead, they're looking at the shift as being more important, and the real power of being open to that. So it's a little bit like the discussion we were having with various states like jhana states or mindfulness states or states of practice in any particular path, whether you're talking about Tibetan practices or Vipassana practices. There's a certain stage you get to where you just simply open and allow what's present, and you're much more curious. There's this whole spirit, like the Buddha, for example, of investigation. Like you start to recognize, like a metaphysical scientist, that it's not about the outcome, but it's about the experimenting itself, that you actually literally take the laboratory of your brain waves and you start to tinker in there, and you start to get curious, and you start to look at the whole laboratory of your brain waves as patterns and melodies and contrasts and changes in life. And you start to see, just like my brain, there really is no going back to normal. Because going back to normal, so for example, if you've had a highly stressed state and you might be in very high beta brain waves on your, constantly on your muse or your flow time, or using those headsets, you might notice a shift from that once you start to become more open to what's present. And it might show more theta, or it might show higher alpha, or whatever it does. But what is important is those shifts, that the shift suddenly speaks to you about an openness. And I think this is where, in Holly's work, for example, she recorded over quite a period of time. And I encourage my clients to not make any judgments about it early on. Quite often we want to go straight to the outcome. Okay, in 2 weeks, I've done this. And whereas if you record it over a longer period of time, and if you're patient, then you start to see overall patterns in your brain and shifts in your brain that are quite different than another person's. And it doesn't matter, because in fact, you're beginning to learn with great curiosity about this incredible technology that you are. The technology is not the headset, right? The headset is a measuring device that points out to you different things depending on the wisdom with which you use it. But the real ultimate technology is you. And when you recognize how to use it, you realize there's no going back to normal. So you lose the stress of trying to get anywhere. You lose the stress of trying to go back to normal, because you realize that that was just a stress that's involved with a past, right? That you've perceived and that you've clung on to. So that's been a really useful change. And it's like from 2 years ago, it's completely different. Whereas 2 years ago, people were focused on outcomes. Now, people are much more aware that there's a big shift, a big global shift, and that global shift is affecting them, and that's moving and compelling them to actually go beyond what was normal or even returning to normal and look at the originality and beauty and power and innovative, creative unfolding of their own being. So I know that you can not only measure that shift through EEG and look at it and be curious and learn about it, but you can feel that shift. And Kevin, I know you're going to guide us into practice now to help us feel that shift.
Yes. So thank you, Stephen. And thank you for sharing that. So now, if you have a headset and you want to use it, you could put it on now and measure what's happening. And otherwise, you can use your inner EEG. You can use your interoception, your felt sense, and engage in the practice in that felt inner sense of what's going on. So, if you will, just find yourself a comfortable seated position. Let's have your feet firmly on the floor. Let your hands rest in your lap and lightly close your eyes. And imagine a string attached to the top of your head, drawing your spine gently upright, giving you that feeling of being awake and alert. At the same time as you're sitting upright, feeling awake and alert, just tune into your palms and your fingers and soften and relax your palms. Let your shoulders relax down. Let your arms, your palms and your fingers soften. Allow that softening, that relaxation to spread down from your hands down through your legs, through your feet, and into the ground. Feel that grounded presence of the earth beneath you. And feel here, now. And so as we look to cultivate this curiosity, this openness, it requires a little letting go of the past and what was, so that new possibilities can come forth. So, just for a few moments here, see if you can let go of who you think you are, your self image, including your past, your personal history, any achievements. See if you can let go of any roles you play. See if you can let go of your memories. And let go of any desire to go back to any previous point in time. Just for the moment, let go of the past. And let go of the future, of wanting things to be a certain way. Let go of any expectations. See if you can let go of any ways you think things should be, including how you think you should be. How you think anyone else should be. Now see if you can let go of your habits and thinking you're defined by any habits. In fact, see if you can let go of any definition or label for yourself. Now see if you can let go of having a body. Just for a moment, let go of your body. Without any of these things, just notice what's left. And if there's anything left, see if you can set that aside. So you are simply aware. Not aware of anything, simply aware. Here, now. So, this background awareness, awareness that was in the background, aware of all these different things, all these ideas and concepts and past and future. It's now the foreground. In fact, it's everywhere at once, here, now, awareness, open, clear, spacious awareness without content, pure emptiness, boundless, timeless, here, now. Feel it. Rest as awareness. Now, very slowly, begin to open your eyes with this openness, this clarity, this spaciousness. Seeing the world and yourself with new eyes, free from the past, open to the present, here, now. In this openness, as this openness, new possibilities come forth. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you all for your practice. Bye for now.